All right, guys, we're going to start the show shortly. Today's show is taking a completely different approach, thanks to, of course, the story at hand. A man with gang affiliation who just last year was at a Charlottesville City playground with an AR-15 and another gun, live streaming to his social media fans that he had an AR-15 on a kid's playground. A man with gang affiliations and a pretty lengthy rap sheet has the community frozen in terror as lockdowns are currently monopolizing, damming Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville. Did we not just go through this last week with the Crozet killer? Back-to-back weeks of this stuff? I mean, so much to cover on the program. Look at the headlines, which you will see on screen. I have a feeling it's going to be a lively program today, the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille show, where we're going to talk Albemarle County Public Schools and the fact that ACPS will not tell the parents of children if their children are identifying as the opposite sex in hallways, in classrooms, and on grounds of Albemarle County Public Schools. I was going to talk Belmont Pizza. I was going to talk a language being cut. Instead, now I have to talk about a 18, 19-year-old who's on the lam on grounds at UVA and into the Lewis Mountain neighborhood, and unfortunately has our community in terror. In terror 1 week after we had a similar feeling of vulnerability thanks to the Crozet killer. Is there some gas that emits from under the ground and creates this kind of absurd, lunatic behavior in our community? We will pass along what we know, and then we're just going to ask questions like, why is this guy not in jail? Why is this man not in jail right now? And why is he terrorizing our community instead? We're not live on LinkedIn yet, J-Dubs.
Yeah, I know.
If you can get us live, that would be great over there. We have a large LinkedIn following. We are live on my Twitter account. We're live on 15 Facebook pages. I'll confirm YouTube here in a matter of moments. Like and share the show. If you have questions, put the questions in the feed. Do you not have this question? Why is this guy not in jail? Like, viewer and listener. This guy, why is he not in jail? Why are we back-to-back weeks in danger right now? What are the mental health impacts of lockdowns and this kind of fear on our children? That is a fair question. That is a very fair question. The mental health impact of lockdowns and a known gang member on the lam in our community with multiple police departments searching for a criminal with a lengthy rap sheet. I'll talk about that today. Are we getting live on LinkedIn?
Working on it.
All right, go ahead and start the program so we can get rocking and rolling. And then give me a thumbs up when we're live on LinkedIn, please.
Quiet on the set.
Good Tuesday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. A program and content that I had anticipated would be completely different than what it's going to be today. Today's program is now going to be centered on a man, a known gang member with a rap sheet that is extremely long, who just last year, 9 months ago, 8 months ago, last year was on a playground in the city of Charlottesville with an AR-15 and other guns, live streaming the fact that he was around kids in a playground with guns and an AR-15. Now he wrecks a Chevy Impala this morning. A Virginia State police trooper around 8:15 this morning tried to pull over a Chevy Impala on Fontaine Avenue. State trooper sees an expired inspection sticker. Next thing you know, the driver of the Chevy Impala takes the state trooper on a high-speed chase. The high-speed chase heads to Ivy Road, the exit on Ivy Road. The gentleman, the man, the known gang member driving the Chevy Impala decides to get out of the Chevy Impala while the car is still driving. The car ends up colliding into a state trooper's vehicle, wrecks at least one other vehicle, and this dude starts sprinting away from his Chevy Impala that's still in drive. His name is Naeem. Is it Naeem? Is that how I say it? Naeem Hill. He's a 6'1" guy, 170 pounds, wearing a gray hoodie. UVA does a good job of alerting the community that Naeem Hill is on the lam. We have a known gang member with a lengthy criminal history, a guy who's got a rap sheet that is longer than a CVS receipt, running through UVA, and now the Lewis Mountain neighborhood, terrorizing our community. This happens a week after the Crozet killer takes 2 lives outside of a Harris Teeter in a shopping center in Sleepy Safe, Crozet, Virginia. What in the HE double hockey sticks is going on? I have very straightforward questions. Why is this man not in jail? How can a man with an AR-15 and guns on a city playground with gang affiliation and gang ties, malicious wounding type rap sheets, not be in the slammer? Do we associate this with criminal justice reform? That's a conversation that needs to be had on this show. I mean, is it not enough already? We're live on LinkedIn. Thank you, Judah. I want to get these photos and videos on screen in a matter of moments. I'm following the UVA Police Twitter account, and props to UVA Police who have now put a tweet out that they've expanded their search to central grounds and encouraging everyone to shelter in place. The Lewis Mountain neighborhood is completely on lockdown. The emergency room is on lockdown at UVA. Classes have been canceled. So much to cover on this program. Do we have the man's photo, Judah?
Yep.
Judah Wickhauer behind the camera, running AV here on the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille show. I'd like to put his photo on screen, please. Well, give me a thumbs up when he's on screen. I'd like to put the map of the Lewis Mountain neighborhood where they've put a perimeter in place. Literally, Lewis Mountain is on lockdown as this man is running for his life. Now facing years, if not decades, behind bars. A man that is at this level of unpredictableness. His picture's on screen. Look at him. Remember his face. Why is this guy not in jail? And what is he going to do? The other photo, please. The other photo where you can actually see his face, please. Not the gray hoodied sweater that you can't see anything about him. That is a photo courtesy of UVA. Give me a thumbs up when his face is on screen. What is a man going to do that is literally his picture's on screen? Look at the screen now. That is running for his life. What risk is he willing to take right now? There he is. This is from when he was arrested with that gun and that AR-15, that pistol and that AR-15 at a playground in the city of Charlottesville, West Haven. This dude's rap sheet is lengthy. So much I want to cover. Put the Lewis Mountain perimeter. The UVA police says this neighborhood should shelter in place. Tell me when the map is on screen, if you could, please. I mean, this is the entire neighborhood of Lewis Mountain. Now they're saying all of UVA grounds needs to shelter in place. Classes are canceled. Hospitals closed. Schools are on lockdown. Look at the Lewis Mountain neighborhood that's been ordered to shelter in place. St. Anne's Belfield Academy is on lockdown. Covenant School's on lockdown. Just an absolute mess 1 week after our community was emotionally held hostage by the Crozet killer and a Harris Teeter, what could have been a way more deadly shooting. Judah Wickhauer 2-shot here. We won't worry about this side panel next to me until later in the program. I'm asking this question. Is criminal justice reform to blame for this? I'm asking this question. Why is this man not in jail right now? I'm asking this question. If we're choosing not to incarcerate people because we want to give them second chances at reform and because of the cost associated with incarceration, how about this question? How much does it cost a community to have every police department hunting for one person? How much does it cost a community to have entire business districts shut down from commerce? How much does it mentally cost a community to have children asking parents and teachers and adults, is this guy potentially going to kill us? This is a terrifying story a week after we lived what is the worst possible nightmare, mass shooter, parking lot, Harris Teeter, Crozet. Anywhere you want to go to start, and then I'm going to go, viewers and listeners, your perspectives and questions.
Well, as you brought up about why is this guy not in jail, it really is baffling. I mean, he was given a reduced sentence, first of all. So last July, he was sentenced to 14 months rather than 5 years. And
this is for having an AR-15 and a pistol on a playground.
Yeah. And you can all do the math. It has not been 14 months. So I suppose the presumption is that he got out on good behavior. It's 8 months.
This is a convicted felon, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, I thought you were taking over. What is he doing out? And why is the first thing, not the first thing he does, we don't know when he got out, but, I mean, this is just, it's disappointing, obviously. You talk about justice reform, and I can understand the desire for empathy, the desire for for trying to do well by people that when he was in court last time, his family vouched for him, his mother vouched for him, his girlfriend vouched for him. He had people, saying that he was a hard worker, that he was planning on going to PBCC. So
worked at Lumpkins.
Yeah.
Helping raise his girlfriend's daughter. This guy, before he was 18 years old, ladies and gentlemen, before he was 18 years old, he had been convicted after he was involved in a shootout and had gotten a stolen vehicle, all before he turned 18. Then, when he's 18, he goes to a playground in the city with an AR-15 and a pistol. Can you put those things on screen? Just put the PI, why don't we go picture in picture? The man's photo and the guns next to him in a picture in picture with our 2-shot on there.
All right.
Look. Has the community emotionally healed yet from the Crozet killer and a rampage he wanted to live in front of a grocery store, to actualize? Have we healed yet from that? And I want to say this for the folks that are watching the program. I'm extremely impressed with how the University of Virginia Police is utilizing social media to get the word out on what's going on. Extremely impressed with this. Now the search is expanding. This fellow is a Dove bar in a bathtub, slippery, hard to grab. You ever try to grab a bar of soap while you're in the pool? It ain't easy. In a bathtub? How has this man not been caught? He's been on the lam since 8:15 in the morning. We're now 4.5 hours in. We have Albemarle County Police, UVA Police, City Police, and Virginia State Troopers looking for this guy. This is one slippery fella.
No doubt.
Is this Dr. Richard Kimball? Did he go to the bathroom and shave his beard? Is he disguised? Dr. Richard Kimball is on the loose in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood right now, next to the sociology department, grabbing a Starbucks on grounds, heading by the bookstore to get a UVA hoodie and a ball cap, and to maybe go streaking down the lawn. AR-15 with the pistol on the West Haven playground last year. 5-year sentence. All the 5 years suspended, but 14 months. And then out 8 months into an already suspended 14-month sentence. You know who the judge was on that, right?
Yep.
Who was the judge?
Someone who's been in our feeds quite a bit lately. I believe Judge Worrell.
That's correct. Can we talk about the cost of incarceration and why that is utilized to justify criminal justice reform? And can we compare and contrast the cost of incarceration, which it ain't cheap to give a man or a woman 3 hots and a cot while they're in jail? That's not cheap, 3 hots and a cot. But you want to know what else is not cheap? Having state troopers and Albemarle County Police and City Police and UVA Police and a boatload of overtime spending 4.5 hours, 5 hours hunting for Dr. Richard Kimball in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood and all over grounds of the University of Virginia. You know what else ain't cheap? Having businesses all over Charlottesville and Albemarle County have their doors closed because Dr. Richard Kimball has shaved his beard and he's on the lam somewhere in the city or Albemarle County. You want to know what else ain't cheap? Having a community that is 8 days removed, ladies and gentlemen, from the Crozet killer and what was going to be a massacre if it was not for a hero coming out of the meat department at Harris Teeter, a man that was off duty who had the courage to sprint to gunfire and use his personal weapon to kill a alleged gentle giant with mental health issues who had an arsenal of weapons in his vehicle and wanted to bring a level of bloodshed that Crozet, a sleepy and safe community, had never seen before. That was going to be a level of bloodshed if it wasn't for this hero that we had never seen before. You talk murder and mayhem, it was a living nightmare, ladies and gentlemen. We're 8 days removed from that, and now we got the gang member version of Dr. Richard Kimball slipping and sliding all over Lewis Mountain, all over UVA, all over every nook and cranny, trying to run for his life right now with years, if not decades, behind bars hanging over his head. When a man or a woman is at this level of desperate, their behavior is unpredictable. When you're this level of desperate, you will do anything because you are that desperate. There is nothing more dangerous than a man or a woman that is literally facing this kind of desperation. Comments, put them in the feed. Judah Wickhauer, your thoughts. Deep Throat highlights that Claude Royale was the judge who suspended all but 14 months of the 5-year sentence. Deep Throat also says, I guess he's... I'm not going to read that comment. Not going to read that comment. Deep Throat does ask a comment if this guy is tied to CRHA housing. Look, Chief Kachis has made this point. There's a very small group of people in this community, a very small group of people in this community that are terrorizing our community. The crime is being targeted or cornered or centered or focused on a very few blocks in the city by a very select group of people. Chief Kachis has made that point. And Deep Throat's run a boatload of data of which corners and blocks the crime originates at and is tied to. And Ginny Hu is quick to correct me. Jerry, Dr. Richard Kimball proved to be innocent when it was all said and done. And you're damn right. I should have highlighted that. Dr. Kimball was innocent. This guy, far from it. She adds, the UVA Community Credit Union branch at Barracks Road is on lockdown. I don't know about the other businesses in Barracks Road. The lockdown, I can say, is impacting numerous businesses down Ivy Road. She says, I have questions. I want to know the who, what, when, where, and why, and I want accountability or changes for whoever or whatever has this guy out on the street right now. And then this from an anonymous Twitter account that doesn't have their name associated with it. Good job, anonymous Twitter account that doesn't have their name. It sounds like you're saying the law should take a heavy hand with repeat offenders. Is that not what I'm saying? Of course that's what I'm saying. If you're a repeat offender, yes, the law should take a heavy hand with you. Do you disagree with that, Judah?
I mean, it's obviously a case-by-case basis, but no, I don't disagree with the overall sentiment.
Right? This guy had an AR-15 and a pistol at a playground and had the gumption or ignorance.
Call it gumption.
Gumption or ignorance, whatever the word you want. Brazen. He was so brazen, so presumptuous to hop on a social media live stream saying, I got a AR-15. It's on screen. Look at the screen. That guy with that pistol and that AR-15 at a playground live streaming. Ivy Provisions is on lockdown. That just gets put in the feed. Alicia Waller, welcome to the program. Jen St. Pierre, Logan Wells Kalelo, welcome to the program. Multiple media outlets watching us on the I Love CVille show right now. What are your thoughts, viewers and listeners? Spencer Pushard. Heather Lamont Walker says the local Southside schools have been on shelter in place since 9 a.m. The city schools and the Southside schools have been in shelter in place since 9 a.m. I feel so bad for those classroom teachers. Based on traffic, the parents aren't sheltering in place. We talk about the cost of incarceration. What is the cost of elementary age students, middle school age students, and high school age students having to deal with the emotional strain and the emotional mind duck, quack, 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 of asking your teachers, am I going to potentially die? Are we going to get shot? What is going through the mind of children right now as their entire day has been what? What's their entire day been?
It's paused. I mean, anything useful they may have
Ransacked, destroyed, damaged. I could continue.
You could.
What is the emotional cost of a 7 or 8 year old wondering if they are safe where they're at now? Any parent understands that concept. Do you not? And is it not fair to ask the question, why is this person out?
I think it's very fair.
This comment comes in from Deep Throat. One guy, that's all it takes. Like you say, such a small number of people cause 95% of the problems. Get them off the streets. It's not about mass incarceration. It's about isolating a very small number of human wrecking balls away from everybody else. And then he says, speaking of stress, my son immediately texted me from his watch and asked, can you figure out what is going on and why we are on lockdown right now? How many of us, when we get home today after school, are going to have to navigate the delicate balance of being a listener, a parent, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, an encourager, a safety provider, a blanket of comfort, a sounding board, confession, answers, answering the question why? How many of your kids ask you the question, why? Why did this happen? And when you give them an answer, they then ask, why did that happen then? My 6-year-old does this on the regular. I can assure you today I'm going to be having that conversation. My wife will conversate, she and I will conversate beforehand on how we're going to handle this. I don't have any training onto how to manage lockdown and the collateral damage of emotional vulnerability that stems from lockdowns in schools. I got no experience with that. That wasn't in the playbook when my kids were birthed at Martha Jefferson Hospital. The nurse says, put your kid in the car seat. Can your kid go in the car seat? Can you strap them in? Okay, go be a parent. That's what they say. Go be a parent. You're ready to go. No playbook said, okay, this is what you're going to do on a Tuesday, 8 days after the Crozet killer and 2 people were dead, when my 6-year-old son has already heard about that through the grapevine at the playground. Now you're going to have to, 8 days later, have to answer questions about another lockdown and why we didn't have physical education or art or couldn't leave our homeroom for 5 hours. And you're going to have to navigate this as a parent, you and your better half, and figure out what you're going to say to your 6-year-old whose favorite question is why. Talk about incarceration costs. These are the costs of lack of incarceration. Should you be heavy-handed with the few folks that are terrorizing the community? Hells to the yeah, you should be. Hells to the yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. John Blair, in a 31-day period of time, this area has seen a homicide at the Water Street Garage, 2 homicides at Crozet, and now an active manhunt. I'll read that again. You ready? Mm-hmm. A 31-day period of time, this area has seen a homicide at the Water Street Garage, 2 homicides in Crozet, and now an active manhunt that is paralyzing the Lewis Mountain neighborhood and UVA students. Classes were canceled today, Judah. Classes were canceled today.
I don't doubt it. They're currently, I don't know if you saw the most recent tweet from the UVA Police Division, but the police have expanded their search to include central grounds.
I've been reading that. What do you make of that? That they have no idea where he is?
They may be chasing him back and forth. Who knows?
How slippery is this fellow? Like, seriously. Do we know the cost of what this is going to run multiple jurisdictions on this hunt? Randy O'Neill watching the program. Randy O'Neill says, I tried for 10 years to bring my rig for health, education, and safety to West Haven and other blocks like it. Chief Longo and I tried. The powers that be saw my program as a threat to the narrative. Philip Dow, Patricia Napoleon, and Mike Algieri, thank you kindly for watching the show. How does this best case scenario of how this concludes? The best case scenario of how this concludes, Judah, is what?
Best case scenario is in the next minute they catch up to him.
There you go. So next minute. I like that you include a timestamp.
Put him in cuffs, put him in a car, and in a week we hear about how he's, a great guy who's misunderstood, and they're pausing sentencing to decide, whether.
That's not the best case scenario.
I'm joking.
Oh, jeez, Louise. Best case scenario, I'll take it what you said. And the next minute, he's caught, he's cuffed.
And we get an update.
And we get an immediate update. The authorities say this is an isolated incident.
I mean, it is. And
the Commonwealth's attorney, whatever jurisdiction he's in, I guess it started in Fontaine. Does that go into Commonwealth's attorney Plantania's district if it started in Fontaine?
Good question.
Does it finish in Commonwealth's Attorney's Hingley's district because it's at UVA and that's part of Albemarle County? A sincere question. Programming note on that. Mr. Hingley's on the show on Wednesday, March 5th. I would imagine this is decades behind bars, potentially, right? I'm no judge. I'm no Commonwealth's attorney. But we already have a convicted felon here. And we have a precedent that's longer than a CVS receipt of criminal behavior. Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, he's got a weapon on him, and I didn't even want to.
Don't even want to say it, right?
Worst case scenario is there's crossfire.
Worst case scenario is what anybody that's watching and listening to this program is imagining in their head. A man so desperate right now that he's willing to do anything to ensure his most valuable commodity, his freedom.
Yeah.
And is there any comparison and contraction? Comparison and contrasting with the Crozet killer?
I would say there's a lot to contrast.
Okay. As you put that lower third on screen?
Let's see. Which one you want?
Maybe the 2 weeks, I guess the back-to-back, CVille area in danger. Okay, you're going to go with the position of a lot of contrast.
Yeah. The previous Justin
Barber, the gentle giant of Crozet.
I don't believe he had any priors.
He had none?
By all accounts, he was just I don't think he was even a college student anymore.
28-year-old?
28 years old.
Studied psychology at James Madison University.
Yeah.
Western Albemarle High School graduate.
Just all around tragic. I think we all hope that he had, instead of what happened, gotten some mental help. In contrast to that, Naeem does not appear to have, as far as we know, any mental health issues. He does have priors, as you've mentioned. He's a convicted felon, and so far, this has not escalated to gunfire, which is probably at this point one of the largest good things about this.
And this is what? The second manhunt of magnitude on grounds at the University of Virginia in a mere few years. The UVA football killer, Chris Jones, how long was he on the lam? Remember, we were talking about it in real time.
Yeah.
On the I Love CVille network. Chris Darnell Jones Jr. Didn't they find him hiding in the woods outside of the community? Second manhunt of magnitude around grounds of UVA in a mere few years. Justin Barber from Deep Throat was a mental illness issue, and his family tried to prevent the tragedy. This dude is just a bad guy, and his family tried to excuse his behavior and help put him back on the street. His family went and vouched for him and said he was a good person, highlighted his employment at Lumpkins, his pursuit of higher education at PVCC, and the fact that he was a father to his girlfriend's child.
And a great older brother to a 6-year-old.
Ginny Who, when they catch him, I hope they tack the original 5 years onto whatever he gets from this and no time off. And she adds, even when your kids aren't in the lockdown schools, many of them have friends who are, so the majority of parents are having really hard conversations today. Oof. Jody Knowles, welcome to the broadcast, and thank you for watching. It's a fine line, and it is a fine line. I'm not trying to lump this man who's on the lam and use him as the catalyst or the scapegoat or the reason why all criminal justice reform is wrong. There are many examples of success stories when it pertains to leniency with sentencing. Many examples. And both the Commonwealth's attorney and Albemarle and Charlottesville embody the mindset of criminal justice reform and the offering of second chances and empathy when it applies. And I respect that about them. They say, this is my platform and what I'm about. And these are the results that justify my stance or my platform. And they have proven track records of success. But when you give someone one chance, I take that back. When someone burns your hand and you give them a chance because of empathy and because of goodwill, and they burn your hand a second time, and then you give them a chance because of empathy, potential, upside, and goodwill, and they burn your hand a third time, if you keep giving these extra chances, then you're part of the problem. You're culpable for the reaction and damage that comes from with the chances. This guy, before he was 18, was using guns to have a shootout.
Yeah.
And was stealing cars. Then he goes to playgrounds where kids hang and live streams AR-15s and pistols. And now he's in a Chevy Impala with a dead inspection sticker, runs on foot while the car's still in drive. The car crashes into a state trooper's vehicle and another vehicle. Now he's got the community paralyzed with fear. Paralyzed with fear right now. And it's a community that's reeling because of very raw and real emotional trauma. And that raw and real emotional trauma is Crozet, Harris Teeter, 2 people dead, shooter killed, 3 total. That raw and real emotional trauma is Chris Darnell Jones killing 3 football players, injuring 2 other students in a mass murder. That raw and real emotional trauma is police pepper spraying students in May of last year in a pro-Palestine protest. And that raw and real emotional trauma is Nazis flocking to grounds on August 11th and August 12th with tiki torches, looking to destroy our community. Bill McChesney says, did this have anything to do with Flock, the license plate recognition software on the initial stop? I don't have that answer, sir. Ray Cadell and Spencer Pruchard and Paul Johnson and Angie Stevens-Boyd, thank you for watching the program. I don't have that information. We have very little information that we know. Tiffany Hicks, thank you for watching. But what we do know is being communicated from the UVA Police Department Twitter account, and they're very active with what they're publishing, and props to them. John Blair, what's really worrisome about this is the longer a manhunt like this goes on, the more desperate people become. Let us all pray that this ends peacefully and no one is harmed. Amen, brother. There is few things more dangerous than a man or woman desperate for their freedom. And that's the position we are in. I will say that again. Few things are more dangerous than a man or woman desperate for freedom. Mm-hmm. And a wise person once told me this: foolishness is right next door to strength. With criminal justice reform, we can be in a position where we think we're in a position of strength, where we're giving people second chances at reform, second chances of improving their life, hoping they learn from their past transgression. But that strength, that empathy, is the second cousin of foolishness. Heck, it's the sister or brother of foolishness. And that's what we saw here with, what's his name?
Naeem Hill.
And tonight, viewers and listeners of this fine and fair talk show will have a conversation with their children about what it means to have a manhunt, a man on the run desperate for his freedom, with a lengthy criminal history, willing to do just about anything to stay free. And we'll have the question, why, asked by our kids many times, and then we'll hope when their heads hit the pillows and they're undercover that their brains that are still developing will not be drowning in grief and anxiety and worry and fear. Because no 6-year-old deserves that, no 9-year-old deserves that, no 12-year-old deserves that, no 17-year-old deserves that. Mm-hmm. I want this to end in peace. And I want it to be an opportunity for the community to start healing. Because active manhunts don't allow communities still navigating emotional trauma to heal. And for those that are in charge, remember this. History is watching. For those that are in charge, and for those that are dictating the outcome or trying to dictate the outcome of things, remember, history is watching. Chris Meade, man I grew up with, who I have tremendous respect for, posted this. I tuned in late. Apologies if you've already covered this. Hill is currently wanted for 3 indictments issued 2/3/2025. Jody Knowles wants to know if he's still out. Chris, I appreciate that insight. Any other insight that you can provide, Chris Meade, would be valuable to the viewers and listeners that are watching this program. He says, those 3 indictments: gang participation, malicious wounding by mob, from February 3rd, 2025.
So he's been out for even longer than we suspected.
He's wanted for those indictments which were issued the 3rd of February of 2025, which is 22 days ago.
Yeah.
This is the bottom barrel of society.
I hope that he has a friend or a family member who calls him and says, look, they know who you are. You're not getting out. Give yourself up. Don't let this go far worse than it could go.
Ginny Who says this: Virginia law is that you cannot be pulled over for an expired inspection sticker unless it is at least 4 months past the expiration. The reason behind that law was to reduce racial profiling. Something in the water. Some gas that's coming out from the ground. It's just creating crazy, lunatic behavior. My wife texted me, she's like, what is going on here? She says, life feels heavy. Anything you want to add to this, Judah Wickower?
I pray for everyone's safety, and like I said, that someone would get in contact with this guy and convince him that he's not getting away, and he turns himself in, and life for most of us goes on. Goes back to some semblance of normality.
Amen. We'll follow it. I pray for the men and women in blue who are actively hunting a man that has gang and gun ties, that is absolutely desperate to maintain his freedom, so much so that he's willing to jump out of a moving Chevy Impala while it's still in drive and run all over UVA, Albemarle County, and the city of Charlottesville, hiding, ducking, sneaking around corners and walls and buildings and bushes and trees, praying he can find some kind of way out of this. And then you have folks that are making less than that are making low-income wages, risking their lives for our safety. You think about that every time you go to work. And we have a hospital system that's on lockdown, schools that are on lockdown. What if somebody gets injured, not even tied to this, that needs to go to the hospital?
Yeah.
And kids that are going to be asking all of us when we get home, Mommy and Daddy, what happened today? And this is how I felt. We'll have response and reaction on the Wednesday edition of the I Love CVille show. Say a prayer if you're a God-fearing person. For Judah Wickower, I'm Jerry Miller.